All right, welcome everyone to the Kickstart Data Economy Business Now webinar organized by Data Product Business. And I'm Jarkko Moilanen, one of the persons behind the whole idea of the productizing data and creating business out of it and helping other companies to succeed in it. So our task is to help you to succeed in data product development and monetizing and whatever that means to you. So taking advantage of the data is what you want to do, and our task is to help you together succeed in that. So Toni can actually fill in probably a couple of more reasons to participate and follow the presentations and have a discussion with us.
Absolutely. Could you please change the next slide so we can get officially started? So what have we done with Jarkko? First of all, we have a pretty good and pretty remarkable background of working with the companies. We have talking about the data business and data economy and platform and API economy with over 100 customers and companies so far. And we also have the 2 PhDs about the business side and about the technical side of the data and the digitalization part here. So we have recognized that there is a couple of major issues on the companies who are working with data, or they're keen to get the data for their value as a companies. And they are, most of the companies are gathering the data, but to be honest, there is only like 2 or 3 companies in the world who can really afford to collect all the data and store it and without not using it. And this is also one part of the data waste discussion that is ongoing in the internet. I know that Jarkko is typically calling this as a dark data, as also they are using this term in literature. So the dark data is the part when you are collecting data, but you are not using it, but you are still paying the cost for it and you are responsible of it. And for an example, during these days when everybody is talking about the GDPR regulations, and you don't understand what kind of data you have and where is it stored and what kind of classifications and structure you have for the data, but you are still responsible of it. And for these kind of reasons, we have started to think that the data must follow the same business methodologies and also frameworks than all the products and services are following as well. And from this point of view, we have started this kind of the research approach for the data product business, but also we have started this kind of a company collaboration part for the frameworks what we have developed so far. And today we are going to talk about and present the frameworks for you, and we're going to ask the feedback from you, and we are going to try to find together this kind of joint use cases where we can develop these frameworks even further. And could you please change the next slide? So why we are actually here, as I told, every companies are more or less keen to get their own data and thinking what kind of business value it could provide. But the data economy is much far from that. Typically the companies are thinking, what kind of data do I have and what is the costs for it? And, they are seeing the data as a minor asset in IT systems, what they are using, or just minor asset in IoT sensors, what they are probably using for collecting data and so on. But they are not managing the whole data as a product and as a use case level in the companies and in their strategy level. So we have already started to provide this kind of video weekly updates in our website for different aspects of the dataproductbusiness.com. And for that, we have, thinking about the pricing elements, the trust elements, the structure elements, and the strategy elements, and so on. And we will continue on that. So there will be every second week a new video uploaded on our website, which is available for our visitors. And with the development of the frameworks, what we have done and what we will do with the other companies, what we have already engaged on this project, we will provide use cases, we will provide latest research updates on our website, and we will definitely provide more coaching and actually the tools as well, what we are presenting today. So please go ahead. So we would like to start, setting the mindset right here. So instead of talking the data as a binary code or as a XML file or database or anything else, let's talk only about the business aspect of the data economy and why it's important. And as I said, most of the companies are thinking that the data is more or less their internal asset, and they are trying to evaluate the worth for their data because of the backup costs or because of the insurances what they need to have during these days, or for the risk management purposes and so on. But it's not helping the data economy itself, because they're doing this internal work because of their internal matters and so on. So they are actually somehow having this limited view for their data, because they are not thinking how they could collaborate with the data. And the collaboration with the data is part of the data economy, and the collaboration can contain, the selling and sharing and everything else, but it's not the point to do it for yourself or for internal reasons. It's for the external reasons, and that's why you need to focus on the data productization and monetization part. And there is a couple of good examples from US. So first of all, the email address selling, which is a typical case for selling the data right now during these days. And in US, the one email address or one individual adult person is costing $35 per month, and it's a value for the marketing and the selling purposes. And they're thinking that it's supposed to be, the selling is supposed to be done right like that. But what if the emails are automatically generated from some kind of algorithm, or if the data is collected in untrusted matters, or you cannot really trust the data, or if you are buying tens of hundreds of lines of it, or hundreds of thousands of lines of it, and you only like 30% of it's working and it's current and so on. So you're gonna waste time and you're gonna waste money by working the data which is not right and which you cannot trust and so on. And another example, in US, there is this kind of a data profiling, business already ongoing. And for one adult male who is typically a father of 3 kids, and he's working permanent in some companies, and he's middle-aged and so on, the profile for that kind of person for marketing purposes is costing around 1,200 euros to 5,000 euros. And from that point of view, are you going to spend this amount of money for the data which is not containing all the necessary metadata, and if it's not containing all the proper educational details or the details where that person is located and what kind of economic behavior he's having, or what kind of political decisions he's making, and so on. So if you don't have all these different aspects for the data and you cannot actually trust if it's correct or not, would you like to spend that kind of amount of money? I bet you don't. Which means that in data world, in data economy, we need to boost the data business with making the data as a products, as we are doing today. And for this, we need to create this kind of a much more comprehensive data models that contains all the relevant information, that contains all the legal documents, that contains all the security information and all the proper information about the provider and so on, so that you can actually make this kind of a reliable data economy, which is helping companies to make these transactions and make this data exchange to enable the real data collaboration. And today we will focus only on the business part and how this going to look like and what we have done so far. And right now I would like to give this stage for Jarkko to dive deeper in the frameworks what we have done.
All right, thank you. That was a good and thorough introduction to data economy and the topic of today. So fluently going to the topic that what is a data product and what is the tool set we've been building. And before we go into the toolkit itself, I have found it necessary to clarify people in companies that you actually need to think about the data products in three levels. So basically, you need to think of it as an intern for the internal use, and the reason why you need to productize the data and refine the data even internally is that that's the probably the only sane way to gain maximum speed in reusing it efficiently internally only. So that's why you need to do it also internally and not only in the next layers in the publicity level, because in the next level that's like the network level or partner level, and in there you need to productize the data to actually get the maximum value out of the network. So and offer easy way for your partners to consume and take advantage of the data that you're sharing with them. And it can be even without cost with the partners, like with the APIs. Everything doesn't mean that you're actually asking for euros or dollars or something else. You're sharing information with your partners to increase the whole value that you both create together. And that's the partner network idea, but it's an ecosystem level operation. And the third layer is the public layer. And this is normally what people jump into directly without thinking the first two layers in internal and partner level. But they're jumping to public level where you actually have productized the data and you have refined it and you have wrapped the data with product information such as pricing plans and descriptions, logos, limitation and restrictions and so on. And there you need to do it to maximize sales. There your intention is to make it as easy as possible to understand what am I buying from you, how do I take it into use, and how do I use it with the most efficient way. So that's how you're maximizing the sales in public level. So these three layers and how to get there is an interesting thing because it means productizing. And we have found out that using design-driven approach is ideal because in that you are first thinking the business reasons. You're thinking why and how we actually are going to achieve this kind of effect and solving customers' problem with the data product that we're going to create. Design way also helps us to create multiple options to choose from. Design approach also enables us to simulate the product with low-cost tools without making huge efforts further and huge investments in the development and implementation of the data product before we even know that markets actually want it. So this we can easily do with a design-driven approach any kind of market testing. And then when it actually hits the market, the product market fit is good, then we can build the actual data product. And for this purpose, we have created an initial set of canvases. We call it Data Product Toolkit, and currently it contains 4 canvases: data product value proposition, data product canvas, data asset evaluation canvas, and data product lifecycle canvas. It's fair to say that this is only the start. This is the initial set, and we are already preparing the 5th one, which is basically a checklist for the data product owner to see that, hey, all the legal aspects of my data product, the source data and limitations for sharing the data and so on. And does this contain GDPR data and so on. That kind of tool, checklist tool, is under development now. And that's just an example that we will expand this data product toolkit with more checklists and more canvases as we go forward with partners and different kind of use cases. So this is only the beginning, but let's go through what we have now, and this is already a working set. So we've been using this with some companies already, and we have some cases already ongoing still, and a couple of companies are adopting this kind of tool set already in wider use. So this is not in the same order as it was presented previously, the list. So the first one is data asset evaluation canvas. Normally the situation is that in some cases, company actually knows that, hey, we have this kind of data, and we know that this when we actually refine it a little bit like this, and then we select this kind of subset out of it, and then we put the pricing and put a fancy name on it, and then we actually put it on the market. We know that this will most likely will have some kind of sales and interest, and that's how you normally do it. But that's not always the case. There are cases that when companies, as Toni mentioned, they are collecting information, storing in the data lakes. And as Toni said, it's dark data because it's often the situation that your company personnel doesn't even know what data you have. So that's why it's dark data, and you're not taking advantage of it. So in this approach, we use the data asset evaluation canvas to actually identify first all the data sources, and then we go through all the boxes and see and answer the questions, and then we have some kind of view that what kind of data we have in the organization. We have done inventory of the data, at least the most important, most obvious sources of data that you have, and based on that we can continue with the data productizing process. So this doesn't happen always, but in some cases companies have difficulties to actually even know what kind of data they have and how we possibly might even use it, and what's the limitation for data reuse, and possible technical limitations for the data reuse, and so on. So that's why this is a tool for data-driven product exploration approach. So now we have the data that we actually know that we can use in data product development. The next one, if you have used any kind of canvas sets, for example, API development or business development, you probably have been confronted with the value proposition canvas. So this is a modification of well-known product value proposition canvas with a little of adjustments that we have found necessary for the data product itself. So with help of this canvas, we actually think about the customer, which is on the right side, what they are doing now and what kind of difficulties they have to, and the barriers they have to go over to achieve their goals, to solve some kind of problem. And now we start to think that, hey, if we can actually provide this kind of product, this kind of data product, how we can actually relieve their pains, enable them faster to solve their problems with less costs, less efforts, whatever. What is the value proposition of the data product for the expected customer that we have in mind? So now we are thinking about the customer, and that's where you should be always starting. What is the customer's problem? And you should love that problem, not your product itself. But again, find the value proposition with help of this kind of canvas, value proposition canvas. And when you have this some kind of sketch of it, you can go to the next step, which is basically drafting your first data product. And again, if you have used the Lean Business Canvas or similar tools, you find similarities in this one. We have adapted some of it, but we have again modified based on our experiences that some things have to be a bit different compared to traditional product canvas or API canvas or anything or business canvas. So this is focused on data product itself. And I'm not going to go through all the boxes, but the thing is that it actually contains the hidden idea of data value chain, because on the left side, you have inbound data flows. So basically over there, you are thinking, where do I get the data into the process? And when you go to the right side of the canvas, you see outbound data flows. That's where you define what are the data flows going to the customers. So in between, you are actually having a part of the data value chain, and you're making decisions, business decisions. How am I going to offer this for anyone to actually consume? Or is this only for my partners? Or is this internal even? So basically, you're defining the consumer segments and everything else, but also the cost structure estimates, that how much is this gonna, how much investments are we gonna need, and how much money we need to make, and how we're gonna make it to actually get even situation, or even make profit. So, and then you don't fill in all these boxes in the beginning. You fill just enough so that you can go forward, and you can make a data product mock-up, and that you can test with the markets. That you can throw to your expected customers and ask, is this something that you would buy? Is the pricing correct in your thinking and in your world, and so on? And then you come back to the canvas and you iterate it again and again. And then when you're happy, you just know when you're happy and when you have all the necessary things in mind, and then you can go and implement your first data product. So this is the core of the process. Basically, all your team members should be working around this, because this gives the technical people foundations, why we are doing and what are we aiming at. This gives the marketing people the ideas of our segments, target groups, and the product itself, what's the value proposition, and so on. Salespeople can see the pricing plans and the numbers that we're looking for, what kind of sales we need, and so on. So this is the canvas where the whole team comes around. This is the core of the process. And you will return it to it, as I said, multiple times. The last one currently is more like it's a tool for the data product owners and also the data product managers, because data product is not happening. It's not an island. It's part of some bigger game, which is often called a data or business strategy in the company. So you have multiple data products probably coming in your company, and that is called a data product portfolio. And they have different kind of life cycle as products always do. So those are emerging, piloting, those are mature, and then those are retiring and replaced possibly by a next data product. And so this is just a iterative cycle that we have modeled how the data product life cycle actually goes on, and what kind of things you need to think in process-wise in your own organization when you start entering the data productizement. This is helping you to actually see the bigger picture of, instead of looking at one data product. This helps you to connect and hook your data products to be part of your data and business strategy. That's the purpose of this canvas. And basically that's it. So with four of these canvases, we have had enormous cases and a lot of discussions with different companies in different segments. And we have a lot of supportive material. And as Toni said, we have these bi-weekly updates. And those videos are partially also helping material on what kind of pricing plans are most likely succeeding, and what things to take into account in this and that, and what is actually the most likely customer profile, and how do I deal with it. So we are creating those video materials more and more, which actually help you to work with these canvases as a self-service. But of course, you might need some kind of a coaching actually to adopt this kind of thinking in your organization in all the levels and take it into use. And it's going to take time anyway, like anything that you take into organization. It always takes time. So, and you need some help, some coaching in it to make it actual impact in your business and in your aspired goals. So that's briefly what I had to say. So, and now I think it's a time for a few questions and also discuss and say out loud, what are we looking for? What is the call to action from our side? And I think Toni might jump in here as well at this point.
I was just thinking about it. Thank you, Jarkko. So what I would like to add here is that we tested this idea with one major company who is helping companies to do data business, and they are creating in their integrations, and they are creating IT infrastructures with the data lake and so on. And we ended up the discussion with them about why the typical, this kind of not saying old-fashioned, but still this kind of traditional service design work doesn't work with data. And when we showed our model for them and we explained why we are creating this kind of frameworks for other companies to be used in order to enable data economy, they were blown away. They were like, this is exactly what they have been looking for, because typically in the bigger companies, especially from the mid-sized to large companies or enterprise level companies, they are drowning to the data amounts, meaning that they need to have some kind of logical and very well structured way to define what data they have, what value they have for the data, and who's gonna value from it, and so on. And these frameworks are gaining a huge interest. But in order to make this happen with you, before just designing this by ourselves, but we would like to help you to get to use with this, but also gather a feedback from you. And what we are looking here is to get new data use cases, what you would like to think through these frameworks, and what kind of business cases you have in hand, and if you have any kind of a research initials around the data or data products, we would like to help you to get started with them as well.